You arise now. Your airway burns with pain. Your nostrils drip like a shattered water pipe. You haul yourself to the bathroom mirror, snatch some painkillers, maybe a decongestant, and you're mostly operational by midday. Next, visualize none of this remains. No drugstore, no physician, no clinic 3 miles distant. No internet to warn you if your head pound is a severe migraine or, according to the software, a super unusual skull parasite. Just you, a jungle, and whatever inventive concepts your forebears held concerning keeping themselves living. The insane truth is, they successfully endured. Through hundreds of thousands of winters, lacking antibiotics, lacking operations, lacking genuinely any comprehension of what a microbe truly was, mankind survived, procreated, constructed societies, and amazingly didn't simply altogether fall lifeless the second anyone contracted a sniffle. Thus, how precisely did they achieve this feat? Before we plunge in, we ought to reframe how we look at historical medicine. Because here's the pitfall many individuals stumble into. They envision early hominids were essentially us just lacking the gadgets like Neanderthals, standing around thinking, dude, I truly desire I had antibiotics right now. Yet that's not how it operated. Early populations weren't foolish. They were immensely perceptive, extremely pragmatic, and they possessed something we frequently undervalue. Thousands of generations of gathered experimentation and mistakes. When you reside near the wilderness, and perishing is a quite genuine daily threat, you stay watchful. You observe which leaf makes the abdominal ache halt. You perceive which root causes your laceration to heal quicker. You recognize that sipping from the stream below the decaying carcass is hardly ever optimal. Such wisdom got handed down decade after decade, matriarch to descendant, shaman to trainee. It wasn't recorded in guidebooks, yet it was kept in something similarly potent, human recall and tribal heritage. The outcome was a framework of healing that, while missing our comprehension of science, was genuinely surprisingly potent for countless illnesses and for the ailments it couldn't cure. Well, that's when matters become fascinating. Let's begin with the most prevalent resource early mankind possessed: flora. This is not quackery. This is not silly New Age hippie nonsense. This is valid chemistry, with an ancestry reaching backward at minimum 60,000 years. Plus, we possess the fossilized proof to confirm this. During 1960, a Neanderthal gravesite location was unearthed inside a cavern in Iraq named Shanidar. Within the tomb, scientists uncovered massive accumulations of pollen from numerous botanical varieties: yarrow, groundsel, ephedra, and more. The primary theory: these weren't accidental weeds that drifted indoors. They were purposefully positioned. And here's the twist. Many of these specific weeds are currently utilized within natural therapies today. Certain ones have been scientifically tested and proven to harbor authentic properties. Cavemen practicing natural therapies before contemporary mankind even appeared locally in that region of the globe. Let that settle mentally for a moment. When contemporary hominids appeared on the landscape, flora-based treatments skyrocketed in complexity. Willow wood, which carries salicin, the chemical that aspirin is built upon, was utilized throughout historic Egypt, Greece, China, and native North America to cure agony and fevers separately across entirely distinct landmasses. Since populations realized chewing this timber, agony goes down. Basic trigger and outcome replicated millions of instances across thousands of decades. Garlic was applied as a germ killer by historic Egyptians, and has actually been proven during current research to possess actual bacteria-fighting abilities. Turmeric, utilized for centuries within Indian treatments, holds curcumin, which carries proven swelling-reducing impacts. Echinacea, historically utilized by indigenous American groups for immunological boosting, is present in every drugstore nowadays. Yet it runs much deeper than this. Early shamans weren't simply aimlessly munching on whatever appeared fascinating. They formulated advanced cooking techniques. They understood to simmer specific greens and not others. They realized that certain tubers were merely potent once dehydrated. They mixed weeds within precise ratios and monitored what occurred. Certain historic botanical mixtures included dozens of components, each fulfilling a particular function. Several as the main chemical, several to hide sour flavor, several to aid with digestion, several to neutralize adverse reactions. That's not rural sorcery. That's observational biological science lacking the white uniforms. Early civilizations were in a truly literal manner, operating one giant unregulated medical experiment. The testing group was all of mankind. The procedure was disorganized. The fatality metric from botched tests was undeniably rather elevated, yet the findings astonishingly robust. All right, next let's chat regarding something that slays humans swiftly, and that historic peoples had to cope with perpetually: injuries. Whether from foraging, combat, mishaps, or simply stumbling across a branch in the blackness, gashes were everywhere. Plus, lacking current sterilizers and stitches, a severe slice might quickly grow festering and destroy you within days. Thus, what did they try? Firstly, honey. Historic Egyptians applied honey onto injuries widely. Plus, it wasn't merely a myth. Honey is truly germ-killing. It holds low acidity, immense sugar levels, and emits tiny quantities of hydrogen peroxide. All of these form a harsh setting for microbes. Contemporary healthcare has genuinely uncovered this. There's a clinically sanctioned syrup item titled Manuka honey utilized during medical injury treatment nowadays. The historic Egyptians were not incorrect. Secondly, dirt and silt. Specific muds, specifically ones dense with elements like montmeridanate, hold antimicrobial qualities. Native societies throughout the planet applied dirt poultices upon injuries. Once more, correct. Thirdly, grubs. All right, exhale. I understand, yet here's the reality. Larval medicine, wherein bug offspring get placed upon festering gashes to chew apart lifeless and rotting flesh, was utilized by Aboriginal Australians, Mayan tribes across Middle America, and combat doctors spanning history. Plus, it is continually utilized nowadays within contemporary clinics for lacerations that won't react to antibiotics. Larvae solely consume lifeless flesh. They leave living muscle untouched. They're genuinely incredible tiny injury sanitizing devices. Historic populations uncovered this not since they acted strange, rather since they remained watchful. They perceived that gashes containing larvae frequently recovered faster than gashes lacking. Rather than shrieking and fleeing backwards, they stored this data mentally. Plus, then there's arachnid webs. Various historic societies, Greeks, Celts, indigenous Americans, smeared spiderwebs straight onto gashes to halt hemorrhaging. This appears crazy, yet arachnid thread holds vitamin K, which takes a part during blood coagulation and carries certain germ-fighting characteristics. Current scientists have genuinely analyzed arachnid thread as a biomaterial for gash sealing. Yet again, historic folks tripped upon something factual. Frankly, it's deeper science than many individuals award them praise for. Here's when matters begin to turn truly mind-blowing. We possess fossilized proof of trepanation, the custom of boring or carving a gap through the cranium extending backwards past 9,000 years. Plus, before you inquire, yes, sufferers endured. We realize this since the skeletons display evidence of recovery bordering the gap, signifying the sufferer didn't simply instantly perish atop the surgical slab. Certain craniums exhibit numerous trepanation locations, signifying the exact individual had the operation performed greater than once and strolled off both instances. Why did they perform this? The hypotheses involve curing brain traumas, easing tension following cranial cracks, curing intense migraines or convulsions. And let's remain truthful, likely certain mystical motivations. Additionally, historic treatments and old faiths were deeply intertwined. Plus, occasionally, it's difficult to divide where one finished and the next started. Yet here's what we understand for certain. They were performing cranial operations 9,000 years prior, using rock implements, and patients were surviving them. We furthermore possess proof regarding severances that recovered perfectly. A corpse discovered inside France, tracing to roughly 7,000 years back, exhibits a limb removal showing distinct evidence of skeletal regeneration, signifying the sufferer endured long enough for the end to commence mending. This necessitated not merely the operative deed, but aftercare vigilance, gash supervision, blocking bacteria out, nourishing and comforting a recuperating individual. That's not a fortunate fluke, that's an operational clinical assistance network. To place this into context, potent sterilizing routines within contemporary healthcare merely turned customary during the 1860s, once Joseph Lister deduced that perhaps physicians must cleanse their palms prior to operating. For background, clinics during the 1840s possessed worse death percentages then. combat operations since the environments were incredibly filthy. The bacterial danger inside a 19th century clinic was occasionally greater than simply remaining indoors and praying for the maximum. Historic trepanning operators practicing outside under crisp breezes alongside washed rock implements might have unintentionally possessed superior hygiene environments than 19th century European doctors. The cosmos harbors a grim brand of comedy. Next, here's something that rarely gets talked over adequately whenever individuals pose this query. Early people didn't merely endure due to the remedies they utilized. They endured due to whatever existed within themselves. An immunological defense that had been molded through millions of decades of adaptive force into something incredibly formidable. Here's the truth concerning the immunological network. It studies. It adjusts. The more diseases a society gets subjected to across lifetimes, the stronger the survivors build immunity. Historic peoples were subjected to an unbelievable variety of microbes since infancy, perpetually exercising their biological shields. Youths who endured adolescence, which indeed, several did not, became typically biologically powerful grown-ups. There's furthermore the premise of collective immunity, lacking inoculations. Whenever a plague washed across a tribe continuously across lifetimes, the individuals who remained biologically more immune to this managed to endure and procreate more. With time, the group grew on average heavily shielded against that specific illness. This was savage, sluggish, and required an immense volume of passing, yet it functioned. This is partially why the landing of Europeans across the Americas proved so apocalyptically destructive toward native societies. It wasn't because Europeans were somehow biologically dominant. It was because they transported plagues, smallpox, measles, flus, that their societies had been gathering resistance against for millennia. Native Americans possessed zero such previous contact, zero genetic defenses. The fatality count across certain areas hit 90%. The reverse aspect of this remains that Native American tribes possessed their personal biological benefits regarding regional illnesses that Caucasian colonists frequently battled against. The immunological network is above everything a log of whatever your predecessors endured. Current science is continuously gesturing toward the intestinal microbiome, the billions of germs residing inside your bowels as crucial to biological defense, psychological wellness, and general flourishing. Early hominids, it turns out, likely possessed a magnificent microbiome against current benchmarks. How? Since they consumed a wonderfully varied menu of untamed flora, cultured meals, and meat goods, since they were constantly subjected to dirt and the microscopic organisms within it, since they weren't sanitizing everything surrounding them. Cultured meals in specific show across nearly all historic societies. Culturing was initially a meal-conserving method. You culture items, thus they won't rot. Yet what culturing additionally achieves is pack meals with helpful germs. Kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir, kvass, injera. Each historic society possessed its variant. Plus, every variant was a gut health additive that could make your neighborhood wellness grocery market envious. Current investigations contrasting the intestinal flora of contemporary foraging tribes against modernized societies uncover profound variations. The wilderness foragers possess significantly greater bacterial variants. An elevated bacterial variance is continually linked to superior biological performance, decreased instances of autoimmune illnesses, and improved digestive wellness. There's an expanding collection of science proposing that the severe increase regarding sensitivities, autoimmune sicknesses, and specific psychological wellness problems within current modernized civilizations is at minimum partially connected to the eradication of bacterial variants inside our bellies. Due to antibiotics, ultra-processed meals, chemically treated water, and our overarching fixation upon sanitization. Early populations weren't spotless. They remained endlessly coated by mud and germs. Plus, this could have proven in certain distinct biological ways truly beneficial for them. This is hardly a recommendation of not scrubbing your palms. Kindly cleanse your fingers. Yet the dynamic connecting filth, bacteria, and human wellness is a bit more intricate than spotless means beneficial. Filthy means terrible. Let's chat regarding something that appears completely non-academic, yet genuinely holds actual academic support. The psychosomatic reaction. Whenever you trust you're meant to grow healthier, you frequently feel healthier. This isn't sorcery. This is proven brain science. The psychosomatic reaction might generate quantifiable shifts regarding agony awareness, biological performance, and healing speed. This functions even whenever sufferers realize they're swallowing a sugar pill. It's one of the stranger and deeply compelling aspects of mankind's physiology. Historic physicians, mystics, healing females and males, tribal doctors, whatever label you desire to apply spanning diverse societies, grasped this, even assuming they didn't possess the vocabulary regarding it. The ceremony encompassing care mattered. The certainty of the physician mattered. The tribal encouragement mattered. The conviction that something was getting accomplished mattered. Whenever a mystic executed an intricate ritual above a diseased individual, incorporating singing, distinct flora, flame motifs, and the observable involvement of the entire village, something remained occurring. Indeed, parts of this felt metaphorical. Indeed, the bacterial concept was completely missing. Yet the sufferer's mind was absorbing a potent message. You are getting looked after. Others are battling for you. Something proactive is getting performed. We currently realize this message brings genuine bodily impacts. Adrenaline plummets, biological responses alter, agony awareness shifts. Recuperation across numerous instances truly accelerates. Does this signify historic religious therapy was actual therapy within the contemporary definition? Negative. Yet it wasn't worthless either. It was accessing into something authentic regarding mankind's anatomy. The anatomy's incredible ability to mend itself whenever granted the correct mental atmosphere. Contemporary healthcare is gradually keeping pace with this. Clinical demeanor brings quantifiable impacts upon sufferer results. Societal encouragement boosts endurance percentages regarding oncology sufferers. The mental-physical link historically ignored through rigid analytical science is currently treated respectfully by dedicated investigators. Historic physicians arrived there initially, inadvertently, via the identical method of watching and heritage that granted us willow wood and syrup upon gashes. Next, objectivity requires we chat concerning the reverse aspect. There existed issues historic treatments simply could not mend. Microbial contaminations that breached specific boundaries proved execution orders. Appendicitis, an obstructed organ which bursts, destroyed individuals whom we currently rescue using a standard 1-hour operation. Infant delivery was incredibly hazardous regarding both parent and newborn. Tooth contaminations that reached towards the mandible might prove deadly. Shattered limbs that recovered improperly caused a lifelong impairment. Newborn fatalities proved overwhelming. Across numerous historic tribes, roughly between 25% and 50% of youths perished prior hitting maturity. Lifespan projection figures during early eras appear horrific, typically averaging 30 to 35 summers. Yet this remains massively distorted through these adolescent passings. Provided you endured youth and didn't perish during conflict or delivery, you might comfortably survive until your 50s, 60s, or perhaps 70s. There's fossilized proof regarding early humans existing alongside extreme joint pain, alongside mended breaks, alongside evidence of immense trauma, existing alongside these ailments across decades. Elderly years existed, it simply wasn't promised. Plus, here's potentially the most chilling realization. Numerous among the illnesses that destroyed humans across the historic globe continually destroy folks nowadays inside regions of the globe lacking availability of contemporary medicine. Malaria, consumption, cholera, intestinal ailments affecting youngsters. These aren't bizarre historic dilemmas. They're continuous truths for hundreds of millions of individuals right now, who miss whatever you likely possess within 5 miles of where you're resting. Contemporary healthcare isn't an indulgence. It's one of the most monumental triumphs across mankind's timeline. The truth that a standard illness which might have destroyed somebody during 1850 is currently cured via a 5-day regimen of capsules is truly incredible. Plus, we have altogether ceased acting astounded regarding this. Let's pause a second upon certain distinct historic therapeutic customs, since they warrant better than a side note. Historic Egyptian healthcare chronicled inside the Ebers Scrolls, originating roughly 1550 BCE details, beyond 700 cures concerning diverse ailments. It contains breakdowns regarding the circulatory network, operative methods, and medicinal formulations. It blends clinical findings which stand strong against current investigation, alongside mystical chants which do not. This represented both biology and faith concurrently, since for these populations, such classifications hadn't existed independently. Classic Asian healing formulated across thousands of decades involves needle therapy, botanical treatments, nutritional care, plus bodily adjustments. Portions of it have been proven via contemporary investigation. Others haven't. Yet the takeaway remains the complexity regarding the network, the lifetimes of precise monitoring, the intricate charting concerning the anatomy, the elaborate pharmacopoeia of botanical mixtures. Ayurvedic therapy originating the Indian landmass recognized healing traits regarding hundreds of flora, formulated operative methods plus generated manuscripts detailing sicknesses and their remedies with astonishing precision. Sushruta, a doctor circa 600 BCE, completely outlined operative operations involving rhinoplasty, reconstructing a snout, which proved incredibly advanced that 18th century English operators genuinely journeyed towards India to study under native healers, continually utilizing his methods. The historic Greeks granted us Hippocrates, who rendered a groundbreaking concept popular. Illness gets triggered through natural, not otherworldly elements. Nutrition, surroundings, and bodily instabilities. Never furious deities remained blamable regarding sickness. This concept indicating the anatomy functions following comprehensible biological rules, which might get monitored and deeply analyzed logically, represents essentially the core principle behind all contemporary healthcare. Plus, inside Mesopotamia, the earliest discovered therapeutic scrolls, mud slabs originating historic Sumer, beyond 4,000 summers aged, document exact flora-based therapies regarding exact indicators inside a structure that appears identifiably clinical, never chance, medications. Whenever you display this indicator, apply this weed concocted in this manner, dispensed at this hour. This layout, indicator, therapy, approach, represents the identical format a physician utilizes nowadays whilst drafting you a medication, merely utilizing fewer Latin phrases and massively extra cuneiform. Those weren't barbaric assumptions. These proved profound academic practices constructed through brilliant minds across lifetimes, executing the maximum they might, alongside the implements and wisdom accessible towards them. Historic populations endured lacking healthcare within the contemporary definition, since they remained never genuinely lacking healthcare. They possessed flora, numerous of which held truly potent chemicals. They possessed trauma treatment strategies which, whilst missing our comprehension regarding microbes, proved frequently astonishingly successful. They possessed biological shields, which had been fortified through lifetimes of infectious contact. They utilized cultured meals, which preserved digestive wellness. They utilized shamans, whom grasped the mental potency regarding ceremonies and village assistance. They possessed gathered wisdom handed downwards across thousands of lifetimes. Plus, they possessed something else, something potentially most vital among everything, one another. Mankind is never designed to endure solo. We remain profoundly genetically interactive beings. Plus, interpersonal encouragement brings quantifiable impacts upon wellness and endurance. Historic humans resided inside tightly woven tribes, wherein the diseased got looked after, the frail got defended, the aged remained cherished regarding their wisdom. The tribe served inherently as a sanatorium. Contemporary science regarding isolation continuously discovers this, to represent one among the most severe hazard elements regarding premature passing. Similar to cigarettes. Interpersonal detachment slays. Interpersonal bonding mends. This proved as factual 50,000 winters backwards as it stands today. There's a factor deeply grounding regarding this whenever you ponder it long enough. We possess MRI scanners, DNA mapping, tissue transfers, plus mechanized operations. We might defeat illnesses which completely eradicated massive societies. We have accomplished feats clinically throughout the past 150 summers, which might appear as sheer magic to every individual who breathed prior 1850. And still, the core principles haven't shifted. Consume varied natural meals. Remain bonded alongside fellow individuals. Exercise your physique. Control anxiety. Slumber adequately. The guidance your physician provides you nowadays remains at its core barely that distinct, versus whatever a shaman instructed a sufferer resting near a flame 10,000 years previously. The instruments appear staggeringly distinct. The hominid beneath them stays precisely the same. Thus, the subsequent moment you're wonderstruck by the wonder of contemporary healthcare, plus you must marvel regarding this. This feels truly phenomenal. Dedicate a thought toward whatever your predecessors managed successfully. Lacking drugstores, lacking clinics, missing the slightest clue what a virus represented. They gazed upon a planet packed with threats that might destroy them. Plus, via monitoring, inventiveness, brotherhood, alongside a remarkable readiness to attempt literally everything, incorporating, let's never ignore, dropping larvae atop gashes, on purpose. They worked out ways to avoid perishing. At minimum sufficient of them, plenty of the hours to finally generate yourself. Plus, you resting here right now represent the breathing evidence that this succeeded.